Radio 1029 KARN. I'm your host, Brett Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN. 501-403-5276 is the phone number if you want to join us today on a Free Speech Friday. A lot to talk about today. If you're not willing to join the conversation, share the things that you want to talk about, we still have stuff to talk about. The news being reported about the shooter in Georgia now. Apparently it came out about a year ago. The father of the individual who shot up the school said that he was being bullied for being gay and is apparently a part of the LGBTQIA whatever crowd. The father apparently is also being charged in connection with the shooting, including involuntary manslaughter and second-degree murder. So we can talk about all of that today. There's a story out of Virginia about Winsome Sears. Winsome Sears is the lieutenant governor in Virginia, and she has just filed paperwork to run for governor next year. And so one of the questions I'm a little curious about is Winsome Sears potentially gearing up for a 2028 presidential run? She's been bandied about. She was one of the potential picks for Donald Trump and his VP choice. Obviously, he didn't go that direction, went with J.D. Vance, but some potential there. I think she's currently 60 years old, so she'll be 64-ish. She's the youngest of the boomer generation, the youngest possible demographic of the boomer generation. So are we wanting to go in that direction? That's one of those things we could talk about. Is 60 too old? Obviously, Donald Trump, 74 years old, is older than that. He is certainly not any younger, and I believe Kamala Harris is around the same age as Winsome Sears. She's in her, I think, mid to late 50s. I guess I don't even really know. But is it time? Let me say it that way. Is it time to maybe look at the very real possibility of a millennial president, of a Gen Xer president? I'm one of those guys that's kind of in, I think they call them micro generations. I'm right at the end of the Gen X generation, right at the beginning of the millennial generation. I'm certainly more of a Gen Xer than I am a millennial generation, which is weird, as I just turned 49 to even think that millennials could be that old. My daughter, of course, is kind of in the opposite end of the spectrum. She's right at the end of the millennial generation and right at the beginning of the Gen Z generation, but she's I guess a little bit more of a millennial generation than anything. But yeah, just kind of an interesting group or interesting age group and an interesting time for us to be witnessing all of this. Like I said, I mean, we have for years been making fun of and teasing and denigrating the millennials, and now we are looking at the very real possibility of our, after Harris or Trump, whoever wins in November, after that, there could be a very real possibility of a millennial or even a Gen X or similar age group of presidents. So is it time to move on from the greatest generation, from the silent generation, from the boomers, and simply say, hey, look, we appreciate all that you've done to build the country into what it is, but we're ready to take the reins. And I want to talk a little bit about, in this discussion, or in relation to this discussion, I want to talk a little bit about the story of David Farragut. David Farragut was a naval commander who would, I believe, rise eventually to the rank of admiral in the United States Navy, who got his first job within the United States Navy when he was enlisted in 1810 at the age of 9, with the rank officially in naval paperwork, the rank of boy. He would then, by age 11, become the prize master aboard the USS Essex, which would then later capture a British ship. And at the age of 11, some reports say 12, but it appears that he was age 11 when he successfully captained a captured British ship into port and used or was the captain that brought it into port and brought it into service of the United States Navy. He would later, at the age of 21, receive his first command as the commander of the USS Ferret, and would eventually, like I say, become an admiral in the U.S. Navy with a 60-year career in the Navy when he died as I believe, an admiral at the age of 69. And so this idea that young people are not capable, that the younger generation needs to be coddled or protected in some way, this David Farragut, when he was serving in the War of 1812 aboard the USS Essex, received his first, well, they didn't have it at the time, but would have received his first Purple Heart at the age of 12 years old, and got his first injury in combat at 12 years old. Now, I'm not saying we start sending 12-year-olds off to war, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I have come to believe that most of the reason our young people today are not achieving the levels of accomplishment and or success that we expect them to, that they are seemingly behaving in more and more immature ways, is because we simply don't expect anything from them. We don't expect them to be successful at anything. We don't expect them to be adults. We don't, and not even that we don't expect them to be adults, because they are kids, but we don't expect them to do the things necessary to prepare them to become adults. We don't teach them about the daily aspects of life and the things that they will one day need to know on their own. We coddle them. We handle everything for them. We do everything for them. We tie their shoes and button up their pants and send them off to school. And by the time they're teenagers, they're certainly not thinking about captaining a captured British naval ship in battle at 12 years old. And again, I'm not saying they should be, but the fact that that is where our society has come from, to where we would have expected the successful accomplishment of such a significant task of a 12-year-old in 1812, 1810, whatever it was, to where we are today, where we don't even expect 12-year-olds to be able to make their own lunch. Right? I mean, I'm not saying, again, that we should be sending 12-year-olds off to battle, but I don't think it's out of the ordinary to expect a 12-year-old to be able to stay home by themselves after school until their parents get home a couple hours later. I don't think it should be outside the norm to expect a 12-year-old to be able to manage their own choices for what they're having for lunch on any given day. And so I don't think we can blame the younger generation for their failure as much as we can blame our generations for not teaching them the things that they need to know to grow in maturity, to grow in their preparation for the eventuality of their adulthood. So we'll get into all of that today. We'll talk a little bit more about all of it. And it is, like I said, Free Speech Friday. So anything you want to talk about today is fair game. We'll get into any of it, all of it. We'll change subjects as often and as quickly as you want. And it's all coming up right here on News Radio 102.9 KRN.
Hi, this is Steve Finnegan from The Steve Finnegan Show for the Minton Law Firm. Justin Minton is the top injury lawyer in Arkansas. He has settlements totaling millions of dollars for his clients. Justin is an ex-insurance adjuster and he knows how the insurance companies operate. That's how he wins your personal injury case. Call the Minton Law Firm at 501-222-HURT. The other way to contact the Minton Law Firm is through the website, justinmintonlaw.com. All initial consultations are free, and with offices available in Benton, Conway, Sherwood, Russellville, Hot Springs, and Farmington, Justin is always available to help you through the court process. Visit justinmintonlaw.com or call 501-222-HURT. The Justin Minton Law Firm serves all of Arkansas and is a proud sponsor of the Steve Finnegan Show here on News Radio 1029. Remember, justinmintonlaw.com or call 501-222-HURT, 501-222-HURT, and start winning your case today.
Sunrise Outfitters has been serving the Searcy community since 2014, and with the help of their customers, they continue to grow. Inside the same building as Sunrise Marine Center, they work hard to provide the best quality of new and pre-owned guns, ammo, bows, archery gear, and everything hunting you might need. And they have the best gunsmiths in the state on site every day. At Sunrise Outfitters, their knowledgeable and friendly staff will keep you coming back time and time again. Drop by and see them today at 3207 East Park Plaza Road in Searcy.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
It's a key ingredient called Tesnor. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. Total T is backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text MAINE to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text MAIN to 42424. That's MAINE to 42424. Products and statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at renofy.com/notices. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out.
John, I'm putting my foot down. We can't put off renovating this house any longer. Our kitchen is so small. We need to finish the basement for the kids, and don't even get me started on the bathrooms.
Honey, renovating is so expensive. We can't do all those projects.
With Renofy, we can.
What's Renofy?
Renofy loans are a new type of home equity loan only for homeowners doing renovations. We can get up to $500,000 and keep our existing low mortgage rate locked in.
With Renofy, we can do everything on our renovation list and we don't have to refinance?
That's right. Renofy loans are the only home equity loan that use the after renovation value.
Just what we need. How do we get started with Renofy?
Just send them a text.
Text LOAN to 323232 and see if you qualify for up to $500,000 to renovate your home with Renofy. Unlock the future value of your home right now to get the money you need without refinancing. Text the word LOAN to 323232 to get started today. Text LOAN to 323232.
NMLS number 1802847. Not all borrowers or properties qualify. Loan terms apply.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Karl Marx and Engels, who wrote the Communist Manifesto.
It's the Steve Finnegan Show.
Marx and Engels both insisted that parents should not be allowed to raise their own children. And to this very day, these left-wing individuals that think they're so intellectual and activists argue that children are not the property of their parents and they should be raised communally.
It's the Steve Finnegan Show, Saturday between noon and 3, and it's only on News Radio 1029 KARN.
Good afternoon. It is News Radio 1029 KARN. I'm your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. 501-403-KARN, 501-403-5276 if you'd like to be a part of the discussion, weigh in on any of the things we're talking about this afternoon. One texter says, I have a 20-year-old still living at home and in college that has to be told to shower and go to bed on time. You're so right. See, another one says, well, heck, Brad, look at the amount of work that Biden has been doing while in the White House. Sleeps most of the morning, get a briefing, call family and foreign businesses to get grift more money from, take a long nap, small dinner at 4:30, go to bed by 7. Sounds like the work ethic of many millennials already. Yeah, good point. Has anybody seen Biden at all in the last couple of weeks? I mean, it's really, since he announced that he was dropping out of the race, nobody cares about that guy anymore. There's no discussion about him at all. It is basically President Harris. That's where we're at. She is, I would argue, probably the closest thing we have to a president at this point. Because I can't believe Joe is doing anything of any significance. Knowing that he's on his way out, knowing that he is not up for re-election because he dropped out of the race, and that it is the ultimate humiliation in lame duck presidents. This is honestly, this is going to be Joe Biden's legacy. He's the first president to be drummed not out of the office, but out of the race entirely by his own party, because he is such an abject failure that they were willing to change horses mid-race. That's how embarrassingly cataclysmic failure that Joe Biden has been. That's Joe Biden's legacy. He was such a failure that he couldn't even make it across the finish line. They tried to do this. I mentioned this, and this is why I didn't think it would work. That's why I didn't think that Biden would actually drop out of the race. They tried to do this to Carter back in 1980, 79, 80, that election cycle. They tried to chase Jimmy Carter out because they knew Jimmy Carter was going to lose. They were absolutely certain that Jimmy Carter was going to lose. And so they tried to mount a challenge against him to get him to drop out of the race and become or turn it over to, at the time, there was an effort to push Ted Kennedy as a potential replacement. But even Jimmy Carter, widely regarded as one of the worst presidents in history, even Jimmy Carter made it across the line. Joe Biden will be remembered as such an abject failure that he couldn't even finish the race. 501-403-KARN, 501-403-5276. Texture says, why all the categories? Gen this, gen that. Millennials sound libbish. What about just say the person's age has not the left. Oh, yeah. Has not the left separated us enough? So I think it's just an easier way to categorize people generally. But you do make a good point, right? Why the classification of generations? I think it's just simply a way to say, you know, my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation, my great-grandparents' generation, whatever, their age group. And instead of saying, if I'm talking about my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation, because nobody really knows exactly what that is, we talk about Gen X, we talk about boomers, we talk about the silent generation, we talk about the greatest generation. And so for me, like I said, I'm kind of end of the Gen X, beginning of the millennial. So we'll just stick with Gen X. So my parents' generation was the boomer generation. My grandparents' generation was the silent generation. The greatest generation would have been my great-grandparents. And so it's just easier to classify it more than anything. But the question of age is, I think, a fair question, is it not? I think it is important to point out that there does come a point where, as wise as an older generation may be, it is time for them to turn the leadership over to the next generation. And if we've learned anything about human history at all, one of the things that we've learned about human history is that handoff from generation to generation needs to happen before the current generation dies. We've seen this in nearly every monarchy, every despotic, tyrannical dictatorship in human history, that by waiting to transfer leadership to the next generation until the death of the current generation generally doesn't go well. But when monarchies, when leadership transition is done with intentionality and forethought from one generation to the next, with planning and going, look, Bob, you're the son, you're the heir to the throne of this country, this nation, this corporation. You need to start planning because I'm retiring. At 65, at 55, at 75, whatever, I'm retiring. And you need to be up to speed to simply step into the role of leadership at whatever time that we choose. So you've got to start planning for it. And you plan for it. And really any business that really sees long-term generational success has a transition plan, has a transference of power plan. And it usually starts with, Uncle John or Grandpa Dave or whoever running the company says, look, Bobby turned 18. He went off to college, came back. He's now 22. And we're going to start him in the accounting department or the sales department or the loading dock or whatever, managing whatever thing. And he's going to learn about the business. He's going to start in the mailroom. He's going to work his way up to sales. He's going to work his way up to management. He's going to work his way up to VP over the course of the next 20 years. And so when he's 40, 45 years old, he'll be ready to take over the business because he'll know how it works inside and out. So there's more to it. We'll get to it as we continue. It's Free Speech Friday on News Radio 102.9 KRN.
This guy has more versions of the truth than Joe Biden does.
The James Golden Show, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
You have to question everything that he says to see whether it's true or not.
The former call screener for the Rush Limbaugh Show.
He just explained away him saying that he was in war when he was not, as a grammatical error. Oh, it's just poor grammar.
Tune into the